Hello and welcome back to the How to Get an Analytics Job podcast. In this podcast episode, we are interviewing someone who just landed an analytics job at Amazon. So our guest lecturer this week is Jay Sueno, and he is going to talk about how he built up his analytics skills, his portfolio, and how he leveraged networking to actually bring this opportunity into his life. Then in the interactive section, Jay is going to critique one of my Greensboro College students' Tableau public and LinkedIn profile. Here we talk a lot about personal branding and how you can improve how you're perceived by other people in the LinkedIn world, so helping you build out your network, and also help improve the way that potential hiring managers can perceive you. Then we're going to round out the episode with our social media manager, Al Bellamy, who's going to facilitate the LinkedIn submitted Q&A section of the podcast episode. So if you guys are new to the podcast, head over to LinkedIn and look up our How to Get an Analytics Job landing page. There you can start to participate and ask questions of each of our weekly guests. So Al creates a group chat where you can start to submit questions. He rounds up typically 5 per episode. So if you want to actively join in on these conversations, head over to LinkedIn and start participating. This podcast episode is brought to you by Panoply. Panoply makes it easy for you to connect to over 60 different data sources, where you can analyze your data in SQL, visualize it in tools like Power BI or Tableau, or even analyze your data in your favorite programming language. Click the link in the description down below and you can get a free 14-day trial to panoply.io. One last thing before we jump into the podcast episode is make sure that you leave a like, a comment in the comment section down below, or even share this with your network. This is the best way that you can give back to us if you're getting any type of value out of the podcast episodes. Also, don't forget to subscribe and ring the bell for notifications if you want to be notified each time we post a new episode. Without further ado, let's jump into the podcast episode. Jay, how's it going?
It's going well. Thank you, John David.
You've been out surfing today?
You know what? I'm going to save the surf for later today. I was prepping for this interview. So after this interview, I'm going to have lunch and then I'm going to enjoy the waves here in sunny Encinitas, California.
Perfect. Well, so you've got some pretty big news. I'll just let you update us. What's going on in your life right now?
Well, I got some great news to share. Because of all the hard work that I've put in and my team has put in, my advisors, my teachers, and my colleagues who have helped me, I am now an Amazon employee. So my interview with Amazon actually was fruitful and led to an offer as a data analyst. So I'm super excited. I'm moving to Seattle and I'm going to be joining the team up there at Amazon HQ.
Wow. Congratulations. That's huge.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
So, okay. And I love how we're like almost like crafting a lore, an analytics, how to get an analytics job / Greensboro College lore. And that Michael Galarnik featured your profile in, I think, I don't know, the second or third podcast episode of season 2. And then I reached out to you and you're like, oh, this actually just got me an interview. And now I'm talking to you today and you're like, I nailed the interview and now I have the job. So exactly. Can you walk us through the process? So how did they discover you? Because one of our previous guests, Christina Sithopoulos, actually was found by Google on LinkedIn because she did a hashtag book a week challenge. So how did it work kind of on your end?
So it was a very interesting process for me. The most important thing if you want to get hired at Amazon is do your work and know your area of expertise, but it's also important to know someone who works at Amazon and have them send an internal referral. And that's what helped me. So I sent out, I believe, 5 or 6 applications and 2 of them actually got back to me. And it's really hard to get like a response from the recruiters for these positions. There's hundreds, if not thousands sometimes, of applicants for certain job roles. And so the first thing I want to just emphasize to the students today is that network as much as possible. Like when I was younger, one of my professors told me that I should be meeting 5 to 10 people a day in a business setting. So I know that we are sort of in quarantine right now with COVID, but you can network really well online using Twitter, LinkedIn, go on Clubhouse, which is a new medium. And so I got the interview through an internal referral. And the first interview, I got to the second round, but unfortunately they asked me that, it wasn't quite the right fit. And so I didn't get that job, but I kept persisting. And finally, someone noticed, a colleague of mine had noticed that I was interviewing for Amazon, and she is a product manager at Amazon, and was like, wow, I'm really impressed with what you're doing right now. And I see that you're working hard and hustling and interviewing. I want to interview you. And so she interviewed me for a data analyst role, and she really liked it. And she offered me a role. And so I'm going to be joining the team next week, this Monday.
Yeah. That's huge. That's awesome.
Amazing,
what's kind of like the ultimate irony? And I don't know if this is, I don't want to get too woo-woo over like the secret, or like, I don't know, maybe a more scientific way of talking about this is reticular activation. Like when you get a car, you see all the other cars that are the same car as yours. I literally had my buddy Danny, who I've known for, I think 6 or 7 years now, who is a product manager at Amazon, reach out to me last night and said, hey, I've got you in mind for this position on my team. And he did mention, amazing. He was like,
there you go.
Well, he did mention that there's that incentive that I guess they have if you fill in their name as the referral source, you guys both get a kickback or something like that.
They get a bonus.
Okay.
It's up to your friend if he wants to split it with you, but I believe that they get a couple $1,000s. So it's an incentive for them as well. So, meet people out there. If you are networking on Twitter and you see that they're an Amazon employee, or maybe you're on Clubhouse and you see that they're an Amazon employee, reach out to them on LinkedIn and be like, hey, I'm a student and I'm about to graduate and I want to get a role as a data analyst or a business intelligence analyst. Can we talk? Can you help me out? And I want to apply for this role, and just have the job posting and everything ready for them and make it easy for them. Have your resume and portfolio ready. You don't need a cover letter at Amazon, but just make sure that your resume and portfolio is locked down. And
I think that, I mean, what's funny is that this is just kind of on the fly. I didn't plan last night this opportunity with Danny came my way. I think that's a perfect opportunity or a conduit to kind of break down, like, what does networking actually look like? So back 7 years ago, I was selling insurance on 100% commission basis, not happy. Danny was a friend of a friend. So my friend Alex knew him, and he was at Wake Forest MBA at the time. And I actually reached out to Danny through Alex and said, hey, can I buy you a beer and talk through like the pros and the cons of getting an MBA? And then we actually, from that meeting, became friends and started, like hanging out. And I mean, he's got such a fascinating story. So he was, and I hope he comes on. I asked him if he wants to come on. He was a male cheerleader for the Trailblazers.
Awesome.
Then got an MBA and now works at Amazon as a it's like such a wild, crazy,
amazing story.
Right. I hope he comes on, because a lot of the listeners on this podcast are people trying to transition into the analytics space.
Yep.
So I think that would be a great kind of narrative for them to like see how it works. But yeah, I mean, I've known Danny, and we've kind of, I mean, we're not like super close, but like we kind of stay in contact with each other. And I mean, I guess I was top of mind when he was like, look, my team's hiring. So, I mean, that's kind of how networking is. It's not like you have to aggressively be in contact with these people, but at least manage somewhat of a relationship with them.
Exactly. It's all just about, finding some common interests and opening the conversation with that. And then over time, who knows what will happen. The person that hired me at Amazon, I've probably known her for about 12 years, 13 years, just randomly as friends. We have gone out and done trips together, and we know each other from college. And I never knew that she would be the one to sort of reach out to me and talk to me about this. You can network in all aspects of your life. So I love to serve. And one of the reasons why I chose to study data science is I was surfing with a buddy of mine who's an engineer. And I was like, Chris, what are you up to? What's going on in your life right now? And he's like, well, I'm in this master's degree program for data science. And I'm like, what is that? And so he was like, oh, basically, you can work on your computer, work from home, and then surf. And I was like, whoa, that sounds awesome. I want to do that. And so I got deeper and I researched it deeper. And I was like, wow, this is an amazing field. And at the time, I was already managing Mama P, which is my CPG brand that I created. It's a business that creates bamboo toothbrushes that give back to nonprofits. And there I was like, wow, there's so much data that's floating around. And I was in charge of all the digital marketing and e-commerce and social media. And so I was like in charge of doing the analytics for the company. And I didn't really have a background in analytics and data analysis. And so last year I decided to do a boot camp at UCSD and learn hard skills of Python and Tableau and SQL and data analysis. But yeah, I'm getting sidetracked. But yes, through that conversation and networking, I was like, wow, this field of data science is fascinating. I want to learn more.
Awesome. Well, what's funny is I took I don't think I'm interested in getting a job right now. So okay. I politely declined Danny's offer, but I was looking at the opportunity, and what's funny is I felt intimidated by the qualifications because I don't know SQL or coding or in Python or R, because I actually have so in my analytics consulting agency, I outsource that work. Can we, I guess, I'm pivoting this conversation on the fly here. Okay. What are the technical, what's the technical acumen? Because it sounds like you have this really strong business acumen in that you started your own company, you've run multiple facets, which I feel like I can really relate to you in that starting my own consulting agency and podcast, I wear all the hats.
Yep.
I think that's really valuable.
That's what an entrepreneur is. Yeah.
Right. So what are the technical skills that you would need to get an analytics job at Amazon?
So at Amazon, it's really important that you learn SQL. SQL is the language that Amazon and really almost all businesses, big businesses, use to query data and understand it on the fly. You can import it into Python, which is another good skill, and then do some analysis on there. But most of the data there is structured in a relational database system. So SQL is super important. So go and sort of take some Udemy classes or other classes that just specialize in that. Also, Python is really important. It's another general skill that can be used in all facets of business, but for data analysis, it's becoming the language to use, in my opinion. I know R is still used in some areas, but for most job descriptions, and I've looked at hundreds and hundreds these past couple of months, it's Python and SQL is really important. And then if you can add Tableau on there, like a BI tool, that is super clutch. So getting a certification in Tableau is great because it's all about communication and communicating these ideas and these insights from the data to your audience. It can be, you know, stakeholders, it can be customers, whatever. So Tableau is another really good skill set. And then just another just general skill set is exploratory data analysis. Just having a methodology for like breaking down the data, sort of cleaning it up, finding some like insights from it. One of the areas where I really enjoy and learned quite a bit is in Kaggle. I don't know if any of you have checked out Kaggle, but it's a online data science competition site. It's really like data science nerdy and super fun. But basically, it's an open forum for people to test out their skills and compete with other people in the data science field. They have a fun intro competition, and it's about the Titanic, and you're supposed to create a prediction model of who's going to survive and who isn't based on data that they provide to you. It's really fun, and you get to explore the data, and then you can, you know, look at the outliers and like find stories and biographies of the people that survived that you find on there, because they're actual real people that, you know, that they have on there that survived and did it. And so they give you like a training set where they show who did survive and who didn't, and then they have features or columns that are like sex, age, their class, so on and so forth. And then there's a test set where they don't give you the answers. And so they sort of grade you or rank you based on how well your model predicts on this test set. So in that, you can like do sort of exploratory data analysis, you can do data munging, you can, you know, work on your Python, you can use visualizations using Matplotlib. So yeah, those are kind of the skill sets that I think are really important to have. So to review, SQL, Python, Tableau, that trilogy will be, you know, highly valued in the marketplace, not just at Amazon.
Well, you're teaching the teacher here, because we definitely, okay, so this is the first year that we're doing this analytics minor cohort at Greensboro College. And I've actually been on the advisory board for Greensboro College for the past 2 years, kind of like helping them develop and now teach it. We started with Power BI last semester. So it's 2 classes.
Power BI is great.
The class last semester is case studies in business analytics. We started with Power BI, and I love starting there because you have the data visualization tab, you have the data tab, and you have the data model. So it's a great way to kind of explain like the overall picture. And then we wrapped up the last month of that course building out portfolios, and that was kind of like part of their grade. And what they're doing this semester is they're working with 2 of my consulting clients. So they're working with the president of a company and the CFO of another, and they're actually doing real world work. But I think you've just uncovered a weakness of mine, or like an area of interest, in that most of my clients are, I would say, 200 million or less in revenue. So we're working in Excel. So we haven't touched on SQL that much. And I'm wondering if, like, this is kind of a rhetorical question of like, what percentage of analytics jobs need SQL versus are okay with just using these ETL tools like Power BI or the data prep modeler for Tableau?
Right. That's a good question. And I guess I have been looking at getting jobs at these bigger companies that have massive databases that sort of are, you know, can't necessarily be handled by Excel spreadsheets because there's just not enough rows and not enough data on there, or memory to be handled on Excel.
Right.
But I believe that Excel, that would be another skill set. I'd have to add that. After I wrote my list or said my list, I was like, oh, I totally forgot about Excel. I do think Excel is a very important skill set. And the work that I'm going to be doing at Amazon has a lot to do with Excel. And it's also like a lot of these companies, most of their sort of infrastructure is based on Excel, but they're trying to migrate into sort of the cloud, and they're trying to migrate into these more relational or non-relational database systems. So part of what you're going to be doing, part of what I'm going to be doing is sort of advising these companies on how to go from Excel based to going into the cloud and going into a relational database system, which is SQL essentially. Yeah.
Yeah. So actually last episode, we had Matt Bratton come on, who's the VP of analytics for a company out in, man, that's 2 California guests in a row, out in California. And Christina is one of my students, and what she actually researched and implemented was this concept called date scaffolding. So with the project that she was working on, we got 3 marketing data sources. So it was Amazon, I think Facebook, and maybe Google Ads. And we couldn't combine them all together. So what she did was she actually like created a 4th Excel file that had all the dates and then joined them together. So that is like very rudimentary data modeling, but it's not like something you would have in like a SQL database. But I mean, that's like a whole skill into it. Like being a database administrator, I mean, it's tough from my perspective to like pick and choose like what I think the overarching thing that I'm trying to teach and show the students is that you have this big data set, you come up with this insight that leads to this recommendation.
Exactly.
And that's the 2 classes that I'm teaching right now. I don't have, you know, the time or the resources to like teach them about SQL and all, like go deep into like relational modeling and all that. But I think that, I mean, we just had a meeting with the president of that company that Christina did and her team did the work for. He was so impressed. He was like, wow, this work, because it's all in Tableau right now. So both of my clients, most of the consulting work I do is Tableau based. But I mean, it's incredible how powerful those tools are.
I think end of the day, that is exactly what a data analyst and a data scientist does. It's deriving insights from the data. And so you can use whatever tool works for you, but if you can convey that story and find that insight and back it up with the data, that's gold. That's what people are looking for. So whether it's SQL, whether it's Tableau, whether it's Power BI, Excel, it can be a pivot table, as long as you understand your audience and what their goals and needs are, what the KPI is, and then translating sort of the data that you have into actionable insights that's going to add value. That's gold. That's what you're looking for. That's what data science is about.
Okay, so we have 2 more questions. So I could see us piggybacking off of, all right, the core thing of being an analyst is taking a data set, finding insight, driving a recommendation. I would say that what you want to do with your LinkedIn, your resume, and your portfolio is showcase that ability. Yes. So we could go into what makes a good portfolio and LinkedIn, kind of like a personal branding theme, or this. You said you wanted to talk about surfing and kind of what that led to in your personal journey. Which one do you want to tackle first?
Why don't we just go with surfing first?
Okay. All right.
Let's go with, for me, it's very important to understand what your why is. When you go into endeavor and just in life in general, you have to sort of dig deep and understand, okay, why am I doing this? What is my motivation? What is my purpose? And it sort of is the compass and guides your overall framework for why you will do something or why you won't do something. It's maybe listing out your values or your principles. And for me, I picked up surfing about 10 years ago, and it changed my life. I'm now here in California. I'm from Seattle. I'm close to the ocean. And what it really did to me was it got me close to nature. And I realized that nature is very important to me. So I love to surf. I love to hike. I love to just do whatever it is I can to make sure this world is a better place. And so it showed me that my why and my purpose is to do good in this world. That's why I started Mama P, which is the bamboo toothbrush company. we wanted to reduce plastic in people's lives and then empower them by giving back to nonprofits with each of the bamboo toothbrushes. And you can check us out on mamap.life. That's our website. And you can choose from 6 different colors. There's blue for ocean conservation. There's yellow and black for saving the bees. We have social causes, rainbows for LGBTQ, so on and so forth. And so for me, surfing is a source of fun. It's a source of, being able to disconnect from society, from our phones and from technology. It's a way to sort of just be grounded in nature. And so what it has done for me is it's shown me that I need to be, with whatever I do, it has to be in the framework of, is it doing good in this world? And so with analytics, and data science, I believe that I can make an impact in the world by sort of honing in my skills in data science and using that for good in the world. And so first and foremost, it can be anything for you, like whether it's, sports, or whether it's like another hobby or passion, but just like understand, what is your why? What is your passion? And go with it. Like, it's really important, because like this journey is going to be really hard. Sometimes things aren't going to work out. Sometimes you're going to get a lot of rejection. Sometimes the work is just going to be a lot. And so you need to be able to fall back on your why. And it has to be stronger than just like money or, more superficial things. It has to, really drive you and, really light a passion inside of you to sort of push you to that next level. So yeah, thanks for asking that question. I think it's important. I think we really need to spend a little bit of time and just like understand ourselves and where do we want to go and what motivates us as a person.
What's funny is, I don't know, it wasn't last episode, because last episode we focused on technical interview questions and like how to address them and explain projects. But we've had multiple people talk about like elevator pitches or how to answer the question, tell us about yourself. Those of you who are listening, students, that was a perfect. So Jay, tell me about yourself. What, like, you got into your why? So, yeah, that was an amazing kind of, I just wanted to kind of reframe what you said from like, look at how amazing you are at communicate. Like, you've really thought through this, and you've also done meaningful work, and you've also developed, through that meaningful work, you've developed relevant skills.
Thank you. Yeah, and I have been doing a lot of interviews these last 2 months. So I started the job hunt in mid to late January, and I probably had like 10 interviews with companies. And when you speak to these hiring managers or recruiters, they have your resume in front of them. So you don't want to like rehash that. You want to talk about who you are and why they are going to want to work with you. And understanding your why is a good place to start. So I just had an interview, last week with X company, and they were just like, wow, this is amazing. This is the kind of thing that we want in our culture. This is important. Like, people that have sort of this vision and this understanding of, what they want to do. And so spend some time and think about, what is your why and what is your purpose? I think of things as, I want to do something that's purpose driven.
Well, not to get like overly technical and super nerdy, but what you did that I think is incredible there is that is one of the highest quality emotional bits I've ever seen, where you said, okay, I care about this problem. And then when you were listing out the different causes that you were supporting, that is an opportunity for the interviewer to say, oh, I really care about the bees, or, oh, I really care about the ocean. And then that opens up a whole new conversational thread. And I think that
very true.
This podcast is almost like a Trojan horse of like, we're going to talk about hard skills and analytics, but really like the underlying thing is like, how do you build relationships? How can you communicate effectively so people like you? Because man, we are saying the same thing over and over again, but hard skills get you to the door, soft skills get you through the door. So I mean,
Amen.
you're getting to see it at like a super advanced level with you explaining. I love that we went down kind of that surfing and then the why, because at first I was like, man, I hope people aren't like thinking like we're too like woo woo, because this like does have it's
No,
so important.
it is. People don't want to work with robots. They're working with humans. And when you work with someone, it's like a relationship. You're going to be with them for most of your waking hours. Can I get along with this person? And you want to show who you are, and you want to present sort of, you know, your skills, obviously, but also, what kind of person are you to work with when times get tough? Or how do you think? Are you funny? Are you reflective? Are you more extrovert or introvert? What makes you tick? And hiring managers want to see that. And so, yeah, thank you for asking the question. I mean, I've just been through like the whole gauntlet of it. I went from creating my resume and then creating my portfolio, writing some blogs and networking, and then getting some job interviews and interviewing. And now I finally got an offer. So I feel like, wow, I finally got to the finish line for now. And the next part is like, I jump into this amazing world and start working and doing the things that I've been like working hard for. So really excited.
Awesome. Okay, so now let's touch into, do you have we GitHub, and I think you said you have your own website now. Do you have all
I
that
do.
queued up?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I do.
Let me enable you to share your screen, and then I would love to just hear you talk about it from your perspective and like really kind of,
Right.
it's like meta-analysis, like analyze the analysis.
Okay, so why don't we start off with, I'm gonna share my LinkedIn just because that's like one of the most important. Okay, so LinkedIn, again, personal branding is super important. What differentiates you? You can have just like a regular photo there with like code, which a lot of people do, but if that really speaks to who you are, then great. For me, I created a brand that was purpose driven. So my toothbrush is right there. They can see it's like, whoa, what is happening there? Why is there a toothbrush there? And they'll dig deeper. And so
You've got such an eye for design too. That's such a cool,
thank you.
like rule of thirds. Like, I mean,
very good.
Yeah, like you're. What's funny because like I feel like I can relate to you in that like I have studied design. I've studied like how to, I don't know, because I've thought a lot about that now that we're like getting this podcast out to more people. It's like, what's my brand position? Like what's my brand template? So yeah, I mean that image is very, very striking.
And just like a hot tip, like maybe y'all want to learn a little bit more about branding and design and data science. The best way to learn it is to actually create a project. So you can start a mini brand. Like it's not that hard. Like you have Instagram, create a website, and just work on branding, and then start a little business if you want. That's how I learned most of my skills, like whether it's in data science or it's in creating a business. Like I have never sold a toothbrush in my whole entire life, but I was like, I think there's a need and I want to make a difference in the world. So let's go for it. And with that, I learned how to do graphic design. I learned how to do email marketing. I learned all these skill sets. Similar to John David, we're generalists.
What I love about that is that it's permissionless.
Yeah, exactly.
You don't need permission. Like you can start a YouTube channel, you can start a LinkedIn page.
Exactly.
Like you don't have to sit around and wait for someone to dub you. You are now valuable and you can now do analytics work.
Exactly.
You can start doing it in your own way and kind of building from it's just, we call it bootstrapping here in the Greensboro entrepreneur.
Exactly. And the beauty of it is that there is a community that's ready to support you. You'd be surprised. Reaching out to certain personalities, there's your instructor, there's me, there's people that are willing to help. And so, if you're passionate, if you're interested, go for it. And if you need assistance, reach out to one of us. So yeah, thank you. Okay, so going into the LinkedIn profile. So it's important to fill out all of the boxes. So fill out your little summary on the top. So kind of what are the key things that you want people to see at the very top? For me, it was like data science. I wanted them to know that I was the co-founder at Mama P. I specialize in digital marketing, analytics, and machine learning. And then location's important too, because, well, it's not as important these days because there's so much remote work happening. But if it's important for you, add your location. You can also pin certain work.
Wait, can I pause you right there?
Sure.
A pro tip on location, if you are currently, let's say, so I'm teaching at High Point University as well. One of the things I picked up from HPU is that their advice is if you are currently in High Point, but you want to live in, let's say, Santa Monica, put your location as Santa Monica. Because
Exactly.
you may get weeded out. So that's kind of
true.
like a little pro tip of kind of a little tactic that might help you get a little bit of a boost or might bring something your way.
Exactly. Yes. If you do want to work in Silicon Valley, San Francisco is very important. LA is another area where there is a lot of tech work. Austin, New York, Seattle. So all really great hubs. So be mindful of that. But it's also important to realize that a lot of companies are going remote right now. And there's a lot of competition in like tech hubs like San Francisco, but maybe Austin, not as much competition there for data scientists. So you might have a better chance of landing a job there or all these other smaller markets, maybe in Colorado. So for me, I'm currently in Encinitas, but soon to be in Seattle, Washington. It's important that you sort of pin featured work that you want to be shown. For me, it was important to show that I had graduated from this data science boot camp. I also wanted them to sort of learn a little bit about me. And again, this is personal branding. What makes you different? If you're a baseball player, maybe like put some photos of you like doing baseball or like an article about you. People want to learn, who you are and what you do. And so I thought that it'd be kind of nice to sort of put both, show the data science and show the surfing. And I also got featured in another podcast. So I thought that was kind of cool.
Oh.
Thank you, Courtney from Occupation Wild. It's an amazing podcast about, it's a job board for people who are in the outdoor industry looking for jobs as like guides or hosts in these outdoor settings. So really cool stuff. If you're looking for a summer job, go check out our website. That was a nice little plug for you, Courtney. Thank you. Okay, and then sort of fill out all of the experience there. For me, I filled out the current project that I'm working on, talk about sort of what you did. And there's ways that I can improve this. I want to bullet out some of the key accomplishments that I did. I think bullets are really a great way to sort of draw the eye for the user or for the viewer to see.
I was about to call you out on that.
Yeah, exactly.
There's
ways to improve.
Where's the accomplishments sections? Because
exactly.
The first episode of season 2 for us was Al Bellamy, our social media manager, did like a deep dive into LinkedIn.
Oh,
so yeah, you want to have your accomplishment section. You want it to be as numbers based as possible, which is tough sometimes.
Exactly. Yeah, numbers based. And then, your education. I'm currently pursuing a certificate at Stanford for the machine learning course there. I recently graduated from University of San Diego in their certificate, and then I got my bachelor's at the University of Washington in Seattle. So
I have got a question for you. Mm-hmm. And this may be a little bit, I don't know, not altruistic. We're debating on building out a certificate of analytics for Greensboro College.
Yeah.
Okay, I see that you've got multiple certificates listed. Mm-hmm. What does that send on as a market signal, or I should say like a marketplace signal on the job market? Like, does getting, that certificate in data science, how does that compare to like getting a full 4-year degree versus, I don't
Right.
know, a LinkedIn learning badge? Like, I guess there's kind of like
Right.
a rank order hierarchy there.
That's a good question. I think that in our current world, um, alternative forms of education are becoming more important and relevant in the workforce. Google just released a certificate for like data analytics. They did one for IT, and a lot of companies are putting, um, are accepting them. I think it's important to get a 4-year degree for many companies still. And if you want to get a data science position in some companies, it's also important to get a master's. But certificates are a great way to sort of be in the middle there. I have friends that never got their 4-year degree and only did certificates, and they are now software engineering leads at companies and just doing really well, like $200,000 a year type of salaries, and they never got a 4-year degree. And so don't discount your experience. Again, it's about how you present yourself and how you brand yourself. Maybe you don't do the 4-year degree, but you do all this other work, and you hustle, and you take these jobs that'll lead you towards the path of where you want to end up. And end of the day, it's really, can you do the work? Like, do you know how to, when you get into the interview, they're going to have you do a technical component, and there'll be a screen, they'll be watching you code. And can you perform the code? It doesn't matter if you got a 4-year degree or a master's degree or a certificate. If you can do the work, then.
I think I just pieced it together. Okay, so Michael Galartnik taught you through this certificate program at no wait, this is San Diego.
No. I was taught by a professor by the name of Peter Chen.
Okay, wait, how do you know Michael then? Again, I feel like
I know Michael because I read his article on Medium about how to develop a portfolio.
Okay, so, yeah. Well, you went over that earlier on, but I thought for some reason you also took a class with him.
No, I just reached out to him on LinkedIn. I said, "Hey, Michael, okay. I like your work. Let's connect. Let's network."
Okay.
Yeah.
Interesting. Because see, he's at UC Davis. I guess that's different from UC San Diego.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. But he was at UCSD for a while. I know he taught some classes there.
Awesome. Yeah. Well, thanks for giving us some insight on those certificate programs, because it does seem like it is a little bit of an ambiguous place right now.
It is.
Because everyone is starting to get certifications. And I guess let me run this by you and see what your thoughts are. We typically say that having a portfolio, to rank order kind of pieces of personal branding, number one is work experience. Like if you already have worked that job, that's probably a strong indicator that you can do that job well.
Exactly.
Then it's like a portfolio or like a side business like you're doing, and then certifications. Well, I guess then certifications or degrees, but I don't know. What are your thoughts on kind of like what is the most important piece of personal branding?
I think yes, your work experience is really important. Your projects that can lead to businesses that you create, that's very important. Certifications are great because if you can just prove through accreditation, through some sort of body, whether it's a Tableau certification or it's an AWS certification, it just shows that, okay, I am certified in this particular skill set that I'm going to be like applying for and interviewing for. And it's highly valuable. Having a 4-year degree and master's degree is important for some positions. But if we're talking about analytics, I think, just having that certification is enough. So I think all of you are on the right track right now for that.
Awesome. Okay. So I think we've nailed LinkedIn. I want to see, have you even updated the GitHub?
One thing I do want to add for LinkedIn before we leave it is that it is important to get skill endorsements and recommendations from people. And it's something that I'm working on right now. So again, this is part of the networking aspect of like, hey, reach out to people, give them some skill endorsements, and then hopefully they'll give you back some skill endorsements. Or you can, get them from people just
Or you could go on a
organically.
podcast where hundreds of people are watching and ask for it.
Exactly.
Everyone
Some
go to
skill
Jace
endorsements,
right now.
guys.
If you're
Come
listening,
on.
go to Jace's profile and endorse his skills.
Yes, please. But I will also do it for you. So
yeah, this is a skill for skill endorsement. We're running a Ponzi scheme here.
Yeah. Okay.
So you want to jump over to your GitHub?
Yeah, let's go to GitHub.
Awesome.
Sorry, this screen is kind of funny. Okay. So GitHub, super important if you're in tech. So the first thing I want to say is that everyone probably has a GitHub, but here is a secret that I'm not sure if people really know about this or not, but you can do a README on your front page and profile. And the way to do that, as you can see, like this is my profile page and it has a README. And to do that, you create a repository with, I believe I have a bunch here, but you create a repository with your screen name. And that's it. And that'll create the README. So if you click on there, you can build it out and make it look like however you want it to look. So that's the first tip. It's really cool to just like have everything there that people can like see and learn about you. And I have links to like my LinkedIn. I have a link to my certificate program. I have a link to Mama P, to Room to Roam where I'm working. And then just really work on making your READMEs look really good. I think that is my #1 recommendation, because when people go on there and view your GitHub profile, it's hard for them to just like go to the folders and read the code. If they can understand the gist and have an outline from the README, it's really powerful. So we'll go into that a little bit more later, but again, just fill out all the boxes. So, have your little summary on there. Include your company or your location and links to your LinkedIn. Try and get followers and people look at that. And then pin your best repos and projects. I really want to emphasize that the best way to learn analytics or data science is to just do projects, just project. You're going to learn more. Like if you want to learn SQL, do a project where you have to create a SQL database and then query that using SQL Alchemy or whatever tool you want to use. If you want to learn how to do web scraping, do a web scraping application. And so pin the ones that you think are strongest, just in case one of your viewers wants to check them out. And then try and have a consistent sort of commit history on there. So people are going to see like, oh, is Jay on GitHub? Is he like working and like, interacting with people and collaborating? Another tip is that try and work on projects with a group. One of the most important skill sets for just any sort of tech role is working in a team and collaborating. And they want to know that you can work in Git. So a lot of companies, that's their sort of workflow that they use. And then I want to dive into one of our projects. So here's a group project that I did. And we wanted to create a predictor that would predict the stock market based on President Trump's tweets. And so what we did was we took all of his tweets and we compared it to the price of the S&P 500. And then we trained a machine learning model on sort of, hey, what's going to happen? Is it going to go up? Is it going to go down there that day? We also said, okay, is there a statistical correlation of this happening? So we did like a bunch of exploratory data analysis. We did an ETL process where we transformed and wrangled with the data, and then we visualized it, and then we created a machine learning algorithm to predict it. And we got to around 66%. And so this is an amazing sort of, and this is the project that I bring up in my interviews, and people are always like, whoa, that's really cool. Did that work? Find projects that are really interesting that, you can speak to, that people can relate to, they can understand. And then again, work on your readmes, like make it look cool. And so, I'm not going to talk about politics or anything, but we just felt that Trump was a good case study because whenever he tweeted, a lot of things happened in the world, and sometimes the stock market would react to how he would tweet. And so we created this amazing README, and then we also created a website. So it's a good skill set.
Well, Trump is also a really good shareable keyword too.
Yes.
So like from a content creation standpoint, people are likely to share that on both sides of the political aisle, really.
Exactly.
So and I don't know. I mean, I guess it depends on your own personal preference, but you're taking a neutral stance, but you're creating some content that's insightful. So
exactly.
you're building kind of I call it a digital footprint. This is making your digital footprint a lot bigger.
Exactly. Yeah. And we wanted to create even more of a footprint and created a website. Let's see if it's still live. We probably haven't clicked on it in a while, but we created like a Heroku app that actually visualized all of this onto a website. Probably not live right now. Oh, there it is. Okay. So in data science and sort of data analysis, it's important for visualization. And if you can show that you are kind of able to do a lot of different things with the data and showcase it in different ways, it's very valuable. So we created a cool little website that you can just learn more about this project that we did. We did some Tableau visualizations. We did some Plotly visualizations. So yeah, going back to the GitHub repo, you can see that I spent quite a bit of time developing this README. We included links. We included some of our Tableau visualizations. We talked about sort of the project. We did a background, purpose, overview, methodology. We showed some of our Python code on there. This is customized Plotly visualizations that we created. And then we went into sort of the machine learning side of it and into our findings. So we went pretty in depth in our GitHub, and I would impress upon you to spend some time and really work on the README component of your GitHub, because that's where a lot of people are going to learn about what you're doing. And then they can go in, okay, they can be like, okay, I want to learn more about the notebooks that you created, sort of these visualizations from, and they can go deeper and like dig into your actual work. And another important thing that I want to just comment on, when you're creating code, don't forget to comment and write, okay, what is happening in this code? Like, actually write out, okay, this script is to create a pandas data frame to do X, Y, and Z, or this script is to pull the Twitter API to sort of, import all of Trump's tweets. Because when people are looking at code, they don't necessarily know what you're trying to do, but if you can like explain it to them in a comment, then it makes your code a lot cleaner and more readable.
This is reminding me of, so Connor Brown, I think he just texted me. I think his internet is on the fritz, but he actually did a very similar Tableau visualization. Actually, here, if you let me share my screen, I can pull up his profile, because I know we got Shay. So Connor, I think this is just kind of a cool. Here we go. So which one is it? Did he take it down? Here it is. So this was, I mean, it's kind of the similar vein of what you were talking about, where it's like, well, I guess what we were talking about of the content creation of people on both sides of the
Oh,
aisle were
cool.
very interested in what were the polls telling us, were they wrong?
Right.
And then because and I think Ken G actually critiqued this visualization a while ago, but
Great.
yeah, isn't that cool?
That's
Like
an
you can go,
interesting visualization. Yeah.
you can go and click on it and kind of see, the percentage and the average poll. Yeah.
Interesting.
So
Yeah.
while we're here, I guess let's pivot into the student interactive. And Shay, I see you're still on the call here. Are you ready for your profile? Well, hold on. So I guess we're doing some behind the scenes magic. Shay, did you update this? Because we got
Yeah.
on him.
Yeah, I did. You might want to refresh it.
All right, let's refresh it.
There we
Damn.
There we are.
Okay, look at that. Handsome fella. Well, if we look at, this was the photo he had as his profile picture before.
Oh,
So from a branding standpoint, he
Hard to
is.
see it.
Can you?
Oh, there it is. There. Now I can see it.
Yeah. So, Al, you're on the call, right?
I am,
Also,
yeah.
also, wait, you just had an interview. How'd it go?
It was so it wasn't exactly an interview. It's I'll get into it, but yeah, it was pretty good. Hit it off.
Awesome. Yeah.
Congratulations.
Thanks.
So yeah, Jay, normally Al's with us at the kind of pre-interview prep, but
Got it.
Al, critique this photo right here. What? Because this is the example you used of like, okay, we can improve the branding.
Yeah, so I mean the profile picture, I know before Shay was kind of at distance and out of focus. He definitely like did a picture that is a profile picture. So happy with that. I don't know if you're if that's the kind of shirt you're gonna wear to work, brother, but hey, that's a fine point.
I think you'd wear this to work, right?
nice button up. Yeah.
Yeah.
Shay being Shay, yeah, he's probably gonna wear that to work.
I like
I
it.
love the picture. I mean, I don't know, like, what is that a picture of the Greensboro skyline? I don't think we've ever discussed the rebrand.
We haven't. Yeah, that's what. Well, that's what I love about, like, I'm starting to think of this podcast of like a I don't know, multi-point narrative structure, because the first episode of the season 2, we were like, Shay, we need some work, and voila, this profile is so much better. I'm proud of you, Shay, for like
Wow.
pulling it together. I mean, I think that it's way better from the starting point. So I guess Jay and Al, you guys want to go through his LinkedIn profile from a branding standpoint?
Yeah, so great profile picture. The photo with the buildings in the background, I'm not quite sure what we're trying to convey there. Maybe that's an area where we can put in a little bit more of a personal touch, a personal brand. So whatever sparks interest for you, or is your why, put it in there.
Well, Shay, do you have any thoughts on that? Like what
As
what
to
might
why I chose that.
or no, like, well, what could it be? Or if it is meaningful, why is it meaningful? Or if not, what could we put in there potentially?
Well, the reason why I chose that picture is because because I'm a major in accounting, and I wanted to like imply that I want to go into like the business world in the corporate manner. And I feel like I don't know, that picture kind of implies like, oh, they're kind of like corporate America type picture. But something I could change it to would be, I guess, more of a personal standpoint, would be like maybe to include like something with like maybe sports accounting, something like that.
Yeah, there you
Because
go.
I really enjoy sports, specifically football and baseball.
I was about to say,
And
look at his featured section. So Jay, we got that covered. So the Greensboro College baseball.
That's amazing. There you
Oh,
go. Yeah.
Okay. So I think that we've kind of, so Shay, maybe you could put something like, I mean, I think Connor did a pretty good job with his, I think he actually used my Canva account to create a custom visual for his. So it's actually him, and then there's like data science stuff. Like,
There you go.
I think that's pretty
That's sharp.
Yeah. So yeah, incorporate your sports, incorporate what you're really into, and you can overlay it, with the buildings or, with sort of some sort of like numerical type of background, but just incorporate like who you are. Like this is kind of generic. I don't kind of understand what's happening here. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So just a little bit of improvement.
And then I know what Al's going to say about this part right here.
I would say, I mean, is that just defaulting off of the last thing you have in your work experience?
I think it is. Yeah.
Yeah. So I would say, like Jay showed you, write something out for that headline. I mean, that's a canvas you can paint on to brand yourself, and that gets a ton of hits from search engines.
Exactly.
So between the headline, the about section, and the work experience, that's where the search engines come and find you.
Exactly.
Which sounds kind of ominous. I didn't mean it that way, but yeah, put in there kind of your buzzwords. What do you want to do? Is it sports analytics, sports analyst, or whatever that search engine's going to find? When I don't know, Charlotte come looking for you to.
We can actually
pointers to shoot.
Sorry, what did you say?
Did I cut out?
Yeah, it cut out for a second.
Okay.
Well, we could workshop it. What do you guys think of like aspiring accountant or aspiring accounting professional? Jay, what do you think of that perspective of like the aspiring?
I think that's good. Yeah, aspiring accounting professional. So I kind of just put in, for me personally, instead of kind of saying aspiring, just say what the role that you want. So it's accountant or data analyst or whatever it is, because one part of that is that you are visualizing and sending out to the universe that you are going to get that role, that you are that person. That's what you are, we're working towards that sometimes, but in mine, I put data scientist, digital marketer, co-founder, just, and some of those I'm not quite yet, but it's something that I'm working towards. And that's sort of how I sort of envision myself, in some aspects and a lot of aspects actually. But it's also for search engine optimization, like what Al was talking about. So just say analytics or say accounting, those buzzwords are going to get found by recruiters. And I think that you could go either way, but I personally lean towards just saying, okay, I want to be an accountant or I want to be an analyst or,
Hold on, let's see. What did you put in yours? So you did the dashes. So you had multiple things. So data science, co-founder, digital marketer, analytics, machine learning. So that is very, very keyword rich. So Shay, you may want to say accountant. Jay, you're on mute.
That's exactly what I wanted to do. I just wanted to make sure that when the engines and the spiders are crawling through and looking for keywords, they see that. And also when people look at your profile, like in their little icons, this is the only thing that's shown is the data science, co-founder, digital marketing. So you just want it to be like, boom, this is what I do. This is who I am.
Yes, sir.
Awesome. Okay, so let's continue on. I guess we don't have to get into the about because that's going to be like really kind of time intensive. But Jay, what do you think of the featured section?
I love the featured. So again, it's showing like what kind of work product that you produce, but it's also showing what you're into. So baseball stats, sports analytics, it's really big. It's a really, really big field. There's companies like FanDuel that focus on sports analytics, a lot of data analytics and emphasis in there. So that's really good. And it's also showcasing that you know how to use Tableau. And Tableau is one of the most important skill sets in data analytics.
So you can see, you can see public.tableau.com.
Exactly.
All right. And then let's hit on one last point on the experience section. So this is actually something we kind of like drafted up last semester in class. So in the case studies and business analytics course, the students actually helped me create 2 YouTube advertising campaigns. So we like chose a specific target demographic, and then see this is interesting because they actually had like we took an image of the work, which I know you can't do. Like if you're working at Amazon, you can't be like, here's a snapshot of this insight I just found. So this is a little bit like you're not going to be able to do typically unless I will say a caveat to that is if you're doing nonprofit impact analysis, that's marketing material for them. And they want everyone and their mother to see the impact their nonprofit's having. So that could be a pretty big hack. Jay, you keep getting muted.
Right, and that's all dependent. Like some companies are totally willing to share some of the information. Some companies you can, but it's good that you're showing the impact in a visual way. Great job.
Right. So yeah, I just kind of wanted to get your thoughts on.
Yeah,
interesting.
I like that. So accomplishments, you kind of bulleted it out. It'd be nice to have bullets in there. Just again, it draws the viewer visually to those points.
Well, wait, Shay, I thought we had some like body text for the YouTube.
I think if you click see more, it might pop up, or will it not?
Okay, so we have the body text for create an email marketing strategy plan based on historical social media engagement. So that is for the email marketing. So I mean, that's what's kind of cool about being an entrepreneur and a professor is that I can open up my email marketing campaigns to my students and be like, have at it. Study my historical trends, figure out a target demographic you want on YouTube, figure out what time of day from like my YouTube analytics, and then have them compete on who can get the best and kind of gamify it. But it's also like real data.
Yeah.
So yeah, so Shay, I would just add created whatever the YouTube campaign was. Because I think some of the other students might have that on there. So I think we went over that in class. But yeah, let's head over to the Tableau visualization. So Jay, how much work have you done in Tableau?
I've done a bit, yeah. What I like about this visualization is that it does incorporate sort of the photograph of the baseball team, and the color scheme falls in line with the baseball team's logo. So design-wise, it looks great. And then also, I like that there's different types of visualizations here. There's color gradations, there's bar charts, there's pie chart. The one thing that I notice is that it's kind of hard to sort of focus on one thing, and maybe like switch it into maybe like a story where people can like switch to different sort of views of this, because it's super rich, and I'm trying to understand, okay, what's happening on the left side, and then what's happening in the middle, and then what's happening on the right. There's like several things.
That's a really good point. Yeah, I like that.
Yeah, so it's hard for the viewer to sort of, okay, what am I trying to focus on? So that's the one comment that I would make. But visually, I think each separate element is actually pretty cool, and I like sort of what you're trying to sort of convey here. So maybe turn this into a story.
Okay.
Or what you could do, Shay, is actually make it just taller, and it could be like a kind of like what I'm thinking of Jay is like how your README, you just scrolled down, you had all of the stuff in there. That could be one approach to it, to where they can just scroll. I mean, I'm kind of thinking like how this would be visualized like on a phone. If you like, you don't want to build it wide because we have like what 1, 2, 3 visualizations per like. I mean, one vertical or horizontal axis, to where you could just have one and then they go scroll down, have some text or some explanation or images, and then more visualizations.
One point that I do want to make is that you have to know your audience. Who are you presenting to? For people for like in Mama P, or maybe you're doing this as a project that maybe people are going to check it out on the phone, make sure that you optimize things for your audience. So most of us use our phones more than our laptops. And so you have to think about that. At Mama P, 80% of our traffic came from mobile. Only 20% came from desktop. So we needed to optimize for mobile traffic. And so that's why we wanted to do it vertical instead of like wide, because sometimes it'll like make it look all weird and scrunched up if you optimize for your laptop instead of mobile.
Oh, absolutely. Also, Shay, one more point. From like an interactive standpoint, so if I click on, let's say, Braden King, the entire, like, what is this? The entire heat map is just that one player.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe instead of filtering, just do a highlighting. So you would click on Braden and then this would get highlighted or wherever he is. And you can see kind of, because what you're doing is you're removing the visualization capability of showing how Braden relates on batting average. Because if you were highlighted here and you had a low batting average, but a high on base percentage or something like that, that might be a source of insight and see how he compares to the other team members.
Sounds good.
And then also, I don't like pie charts.
Yeah, a lot of people don't like pie charts.
So what's cool about this though is that you have a tree map here. I think I'm getting that. Jay, this is called a tree map, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, you have a tree map, which I think is a much more effective version of a pie chart. Just because our eyes are really not good at understanding like angles. Like this angle, is it 3% bigger than this angle, but you can see very clearly that, you know, this box is much smaller than this box because you got those right sharp angles. Okay. So I think that pretty much wraps up the student interactive portion.
Awesome.
We have
Thank you, Shay.
Thank you for everything in the feedback. I appreciate it a lot.
Well, thank you, Shay, for working on your LinkedIn and your portfolio, because it's come a long way since that first episode, and I'm proud. We have 9 minutes left before class is officially over. Does anyone have any questions for Jay before you guys go?
I have a question for Jay. So you said that you applied, like, you put in like 5 or 6 applications. Like, what did you mean by that? Like, did you apply like to 5 or 6 different roles? Like within Amazon? Okay.
Yes. So what I did was I looked at on their website, and they are hiring a ton right now. So they're also hiring interns. So definitely look at that. I applied to 6 roles, and you can't apply to too many because I'm suggesting that you should look for an internal referral. So ask someone that maybe you know someone inside Amazon, or maybe you reach out to someone at Amazon and be like, hi, this is, you know, what I do. This is what I'm interested in. Can you refer me for this role? And again, they have an vested interest. There's a financial reward for them if you do get hired. So pick maybe like 3 to 6 roles that you think you're qualified for and that you'd like to interview for, and then try and find someone that works at Amazon to give you a referral. And that is the best way, because that's going to put you on the very top of the stack. And once you're in the system, then recruiters now know that you are one of those high priority candidates for Amazon.
Okay, cool. And you also mentioned that like you did have like a technical aspect to your interview. Was the interview more technical, or was it like a good balance of like them asking you questions about who you are?
At Amazon, there's 3 interviews in general. So the first one can either be a technical or just like what they call a behavioral interview. So what happened with mine was the first was a behavioral. So you have to learn the leadership principles at Amazon. There's a list of them, and you have to, they will ask you a question about, tell me about a time when you had to do such and such. And you have to frame your answer inside of that leadership principle. So you kind of have to spend some time and like research, okay, how do I answer behavioral questions? And then what examples in my previous history or education did I use these leadership principles? And then you have to always tie it back to numbers, and metrics, and data, super important. And then for the technical interview, you're gonna have to answer probably around 3 questions, depending on the role. So mine were SQL and Python questions, and they actually have a terminal where you and the interviewer are going to interact. And so he'll provide a case for you or a problem, and then you have to write out the code and work with them. And you have to like ask him questions, ask clarifying questions if you don't understand what you're supposed to do. And they want to see sort of your thought process and how you're going to break down the problem and how you're going to address it. But then you also have to like get to the code, and hopefully you provide the right answer. But I think more important is like, how do you think about the problem? Because sometimes it's a very hard case problem that they provide to you. Other times it's just a simple query on maybe like SQL or Python. Does that answer your question?
Yeah, it definitely does.
And the last part of that is that if you pass the first 2, then it's like a really intensive, almost full day. It's like a 4-hour to 5-hour interview with 5 different team members. So for the final interview, and then they'll let you know if you have an offer or not.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah.
Sounds intense.
But for internships, I believe it's not that intense. So look at internships, but it's a great company. Like if you want to learn data and, interact with just an amazing team of individuals and a company that deals with big data, Amazon is a great company. So,
Thank you.
yeah. Any other questions?
I actually
Yeah,
have
go ahead.
another question, but I don't want to like, if anybody else has a question, I want them to go.
You're
I don't want to like hog
Christina,
the
stop
question.
hogging up all of the
No, I love your questions, Christina.
No, I'm just messing with you, Christina. Go ahead.
I'm sorry. Okay. So I know you talked a little about like surfing and how that was kind of how you found your why.
Mhm.
So like what advice would you give to someone that is still kind of trying to figure out what that why is? Like how did you get into surfing? Did you try like a bunch of different activities and that just stuck?
Exactly. I mean, it really is an iterative process of just trying things out. Like maybe it's surfing for me, but maybe it's like you're into sort of giving back to sort of disadvantaged communities, or maybe it's hiking, or whatever it is. Just sort of listen to yourself, and I guess, does it bring joy? Does it bring sort of a sense of like positive energy in your life? Does it give you sort of motivation? Is it something that you can like wake up and be like, oh, I'm really excited to do this? Like listen to those cues inside. And sometimes it takes a while just to like figure out what your why is. But once you start sort of, feeling and, like just knowing these cues that are coming from, the universe or from yourself, that, oh, wow, this is really interesting for me. And this is what I'm really interested in. So maybe for like Shay, it's like, I love sports, and like, oh man, maybe I should like look into like something that has to do with sports and analytics or accounting and sports. There's a lot there. So just kind of listen to the internal cues. It's really hard, and it's something that takes a while to figure out, but it's also like, if it sparks joy, if it sparks interest in you, go down that path and just like keep going, take another step into it.
Thank you.
Yeah, I actually have some book recommendations that could possibly speak to that. So I know we're almost out of time, but I'd love to just like share some of my favorite books that sort of.
Oh,
make a
Jay, we're
difference
gonna
if you want?
go into the LinkedIn submitted Q&A after this. So the students can go
Oh,
at 3,
okay.
but we're gonna continue talking. So feel free to make this as long-winded as you want.
Oh, okay. Yeah, no. For me, like the books that I recommend is Growth Mindset by Carol Dweck. It's an amazing book. She's a Stanford psychologist, and it's about how our mindset can play a difference in how we accomplish our goals and in our lives. And if you have a growth mindset, you believe that you can, learn anything. It's not, you're not limited by like who you are as a person or what you've done in the past. Like you really do believe that if you want to become an accountant or if you want to become a data analyst, you can. And that book has been very instrumental to me. Another book is Grit by Angela Duckworth. It goes into, again, a similar type of methodology and mindset. Just talks about, she's a psychologist as well, and she talks about how in her field of study, she has found that grit is the largest determining factor for if a student or anybody accomplishes the type of goal that they're trying to do. And then my last book that I recommend is Atomic Habits. It's an amazing book, and I really believe in doing things in a routine and creating a habit out of it. I started doing the 66 Days of Data Challenge with Ken G, and it takes around 30 to 60 days to develop a proper habit. And so if it's data analysis, like do it every day, like even if it's just 5 minutes a day, like do some Tableau or do some Python or do some SQL or watch a YouTube video, building these little habits and just doing it every single day will be very fruitful over time. So, yeah.
Awesome. On that note, class dismissed. You guys
Thank
can
you,
go about
guys.
your day.
Thank you,
Yeah,
Jay,
thanks.
for everything. I appreciate everything.
You're welcome. Thank you.
All right. See you guys.
Yeah.
Al Bellamy, you're up now.
I am.
Okay, I'm going to run to the bath. I keep working out like right before this, and I
Okay.
have to go to the bathroom. So Al, I'll let you take over.
On that note, yes. Hey, Jay.
Hi, Al. It's great to actually meet you. I follow
Yeah.
you on all the social media platforms.
Same, man. Yeah, sorry I stumbled in late. That interview ran a little longer than I expected. So
No worries.
if any of these questions is a double tap, I apologize to you and the audience. Just go ahead and say pass, and we'll move on.
Mhm.
So you should know. I don't know if you watched last week's episode, but we had Matt Bratton. I don't know if you know Matt,
Mhm.
but not to stoke any rivalry, but Matt is from Fresno.
Oh, okay.
And Matt did very well answering the question. So the bar has been set high, and I don't think you can.
Uh-oh.
I don't think you can allow NorCal to beat out SoCal.
Okay.
So,
Okay. Let's go.
I used to live in Escondido, right?
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah,
That's
right up the
awesome.
road. Yeah, so we got
Yeah, we're neighbors.
many years at Camp Pendleton. So we've got the SoCal pride going.
Yeah, you're a
Yeah.
Marine. That's right. I surf over at San Onofre.
Oh yeah,
in Camp
beautiful,
Pendleton.
great beaches all around.
It is.
Okay, so we've got some great questions. This one you may have covered. So Noella Pinto, who is a young college student in India and always gives us good questions. She said she'd like to know about your early life and background, and kind of your basic building blocks and how you got into data. I know you've covered some of that.
Okay.
Anything you left out at the start of the show?
Yeah, so my background is that my family we're immigrants from the Philippines, and I'm the first one born in my family here in the States, and first one to go to college. And we sort of had that immigrant mentality of like work hard, and live the American dream and just give back. And so I was instilled with that. My parents were business owners growing up, so I had a very entrepreneurial sort of upbringing. My uncles were also entrepreneurs. And so I decided that early on in life, I wanted to learn business and I wanted to start my own business. And so that's what I did for the past 10 years. And now I'm sort of transitioning and pivoting because of that experience of starting my own business in e-com and learning about data and sort of digital marketing and social media and SEO. I was in charge of analyzing all the data in the company, and I just wanted to get better at it. And so that's why I decided to take a boot camp at UCSC to learn data science and visualization and just get up to date with the latest and greatest technologies. And so that kind of what has brought me to where I'm at today, and deciding to join a really amazing company that's at the forefront of data, Amazon. So I'm really excited about that, and thank you for the question.
Yeah.
Hopefully that answers it.
Yeah, I'm sure it does. So number two, we got kind of a tag team. We got two guys who asked basically the same question. I know it touches on kind of the theme for the interview anyway, but Abe Diaz, who is a former Marine, but fellow Marine, and Sean Tom Ryan, the man with 3 first names. So they were asking about how to build an analytics portfolio, which I know you've covered. They were asking about what types of projects are best, and then how to present it for an interview. So if you've got something to add to what you've already talked about there.
Right. So like I brought up earlier, it's important to pick projects that are easily explainable to your audience. So find cultural touch points that most audience members can understand. I use the Trump, Twitter, and stock market example, but I also did a Surfline web scraping and word cloud analysis. And because I was interviewing with Surfline, which is an amazing company. And so you make sure you understand your audience and that you bring up a project that that possible interviewer can relate to. So don't get too wild with sort of, super high tech algorithms that, black box algorithms that your audience may not understand. Make it simple, make it digestible, make it sort of, hey, I created like a predictor that would take Trump's tweets and predict the stock market. And be like, oh, cool. I trade in stocks, or I invest in stocks, or you know what? I know the president, and really easy. So
yeah, kind of go more for the heart than the mind.
Exactly.
Yeah. Okay, like that. So Pooja Chavan, who we call the data mom, she has been a stay-at-home mother for quite some time. She's going into analytics now. So she was asking how the pandemic has changed the networking process, and then asked, do you have tips for forming genuine relationships off of digital networking?
Yes, I feel like networking has been one of the most important aspects of me getting a job, but also just developing my career. I believe in the community of data science. It's really important. And with the pandemic, for some it's harder, but it could be easier in some respects, because now you can leverage the power of LinkedIn. You leverage the power of Twitter, which I use a lot. And then there's new platforms called Clubhouse, where it's an audio platform where you can speak directly to people who are, thought leaders in like data science. And so I've met so many people on Clubhouse because I've joined the rooms and participated in conversations. I've met so many people from checking out YouTube videos and then commenting and then finding them on LinkedIn afterwards. The reason why I found Michael Galarnik is that I read his portfolio article on Medium, and then I found him on LinkedIn. I was like, hey, Michael, I'm really interested in what you have to say, and I'd love to network. Just reach out to people. You'd be surprised, more often than not, people are more willing to sort of respond and, develop an authentic relationship with people. So don't discount the power of just pinging people, whether it's on Twitter, on LinkedIn, on Clubhouse. You'll be surprised at how many people respond. So.
Yeah. A funny story. That's how I met John David. Was I started watching his YouTube videos and leaving
There
comments.
you go.
So, yeah, it works.
And like it's these algorithms are super strong. So like once you start meeting certain people on like LinkedIn or Twitter, it's going to show you similar people. And so you just start interacting. You start liking their posts. You start commenting on their posts, and providing genuine insights. Don't just be like, "Hey, good job." Be like, "Wow, I really learned a lot from that portfolio article that you created, and it made me want to do my own portfolio. Can you give me some advice on what I should do next?" That's literally what I told Michael. So and so now I'm here.
Yeah, that's awesome. And I met Michael through John David and the show. So yeah, it's all synchronicity. It's good stuff. So we got Shali Prithika, who I'm getting better and better at saying her name.
Okay.
So she was asking, so slight aside, so she asked what kind of projects would help boost our portfolio to land jobs in, and she said MNC. So, and I kind of extrapolated that to saying, okay, so FANG companies, obviously that's near and dear to your heart now. So if they're just starting their career in the analytics field, how can they build a portfolio that's eventually going to catapult them to kind of the highest level of companies of analytics, data science, that sort of thing?
Right. I think what's important is that it needs to resonate with you. It has to be something that you're generally interested about, because you want to be a subject matter expert in whatever it is that you want to get into. So for me, I wanted to be a subject matter expert in data science as well as surfing. And so I created projects that were about like surfing and data science, and analyze maybe weather trends and like wave heights. I'm also very interested in investing in the stock market, and that's why I created the Twitter and stock market predictor. I'm actually working on another app that predicts Bitcoin using Twitter personalities and taking their tweets and doing some natural language processing analysis, and then creating a Bitcoin predictor based on that. So it doesn't really matter like what kind of project, just make sure you're passionate about it so that you can talk about it, and that people can get a sense of like, oh wow, this person's like really into this and can really explain it well. It could be anything. You could be doing exploratory data analysis on drugs, pharmaceutical drugs, or maybe you're interested in like predicting sort of x-rays of cancer patients, or something in the healthcare field. As long as it's something that speaks to you, create a project around it, and maybe list out some goals. Like, I want to get better at visualizing using Matplotlib, or I want to get better using pandas, or I want to learn how to do SQL. And then within that project, make sure you incorporate those elements, because at Amazon, they're going to be like, I need you to know SQL, I need you to know Tableau, and I need you to know how to sort of speak to stakeholders and present your visualizations. And then it'll hit all those touch points, but then you can put it in a framework of something that interests you.
Yeah. Awesome. Yeah. So as long as you can brief it, it appeals to you.
Exactly.
Okay. So you ready for the curveball?
Sure.
Number 5. It's way out of left field. So, okay. So Milena Agudelo is a big fan of the show. She said she'd like to know a bit more about intersectional activism.
Yes. Okay. Intersectional activism. Okay. So for me, I'm a really big proponent of doing good in the world. And if you're someone who is driven by sort of causes, or are an activist in some part of your life, for me, I'm a big environmentalist. But I'm also a big proponent of sort of social justice. So I come from a disadvantaged kind of community, or a community of minorities. And so the idea of intersectional activism is that all of these sort of causes, or activist sort of things, they all intersect. So like if you look at environmentalism and those issues, it intersects with social justice. It tends to happen where disadvantaged communities tend to be in areas that are more polluted for some reason. So that intersects. Or maybe disadvantaged communities are in food deserts. And so you might be like interested in sort of doing good in the world of sort of food sustainability. So intersectional activism sort of looks at a holistic systemic picture of like, okay, what is happening in this world and how can we address it by looking at sort of how things intersect. So, and eventually I want to create a data science project that sort of looks at that in a holistic way and find data points and how we can sort of analyze it and find insights and see where we can sort of help maybe the environment and sort of social justice by learning sort of the interrelations between the two.
Awesome. Yeah, so we have a hackathon coming up in April. It's led by Cape Fear Collective, which is a social justice and economic organization here in coastal Carolina, and it's called Hack for Housing. So trying to find some solutions to housing problems, and I know that they're active in research about food deserts. We got a food supply issue in some of the poorer counties down here. So yeah, good stuff, man.
I like it.
Well, Jay, you have I will say you've represented SoCal very well. I know you may not be there much longer, but yeah, thanks, man. Those are great answers. Appreciate it.
Thank you so much, John David, and thank you so much, Albert. This has been a great experience.
Well, congratulations on getting the job. That's huge.
Super stoked about that. Super stoked.
Awesome.
It's just amazing. Yeah. Again, this community is strong. It's vibrant. They're there for you. So reach out, contribute, lean on them. Sort of ask for help when you need the help. Ask for advice when you need the advice, but also contribute, like give back, pay it forward. This is the least that I could do personally to share my story and hopefully pay it forward and help someone in the future.
We greatly appreciate it. How can people find you?
You can find me on LinkedIn, just linkedin.com, Jay Sueno, my name, Jaysueno. You can also find me on Twitter, the real Jay Sueno. Someone squatted on my name, so I had to use the real Jay Sueno. And then you can also find me on Instagram, which is Jay Sueno, and I have a website, www.jaysueno.com. So, yeah.
Perfect. Thank you so much for your time.
You're welcome.